Reality. What is it? The world we see, the sounds we hear, the sensations we feel, do they truly represent the external world, or are they something else entirely, a deeper, more elusive truth? This question has fascinated humankind for centuries, but modern science reveals something truly remarkable. The world we experience is not an exact reflection of what is out there. Instead, it is a construction, a creation of the brain. Everything you perceive, from the sunlight filtering through the trees to the sound of birdsong, is crafted by your brain. The organs of sight, hearing, touch, these are the gateways to the physical world. But what enters through these gates is not reality itself. It is information, raw data that your brain must make sense of. And in this process, the brain does something astonishing. It builds a model of reality not just based on what is sensed, but also on expectations, memories, and past experiences. Take vision, for instance. You might believe that your eyes act like cameras, capturing the world exactly as it is. But in truth, your eyes detect light in a fragmented way. The brain receives electrical signals from millions of tiny cells in the retina. It is here, in the brain, where the magic happens. The brain assembles these fragments into coherent images. It fills in gaps, smooths out inconsistencies, and even adds colors and shapes that are not really there, all to create what you believe is a seamless visual reality. And yet, what we see is only a fraction of what exists. The visible light spectrum is just a sliver of the vast electromagnetic spectrum. Other animals see the world differently. Some detect ultraviolet light, others can see infrared. The reality we experience is limited by what our sensory organs can detect. In this sense, each species lives in its own sensory world, a different version of reality. But it's not just vision. The same is true for all the senses. When you hear a sound, what your ears detect are vibrations in the air. But what you perceive as music, speech, or noise is a creation of the brain. The brain interprets these vibrations and translates them into meaningful sounds, much like a composer arranging notes into a melody. Touch, too, is not a simple reflection of the outside world. When you feel the warmth of the sun on your skin or the rough texture of a stone, your nerves are sending signals to the brain. But it is your brain that interprets these signals, giving them meaning. In fact, the brain can be easily fooled. Have you ever felt a phantom vibration from your phone when it wasn't there, or sensed pain in a limb that's been amputated? These sensations are real to you, but they are created by the brain, regardless of what is physically present. Why does the brain do this? The answer lies in efficiency. The brain is an extraordinary organ, but it operates under constraints. It cannot process every piece of information in real time. It would be overwhelming. Instead, it uses shortcuts. It relies on prior experiences, learned patterns, and expectations to predict what will happen next. Much of what you perceive is a prediction, a best guess based on the information the brain already has. It's a constant dance between what is sensed and what is expected. And yet, for all its predictive power, the brain is prone to errors. Optical illusions, misheard words, or false memories. They reveal the limits of the brain's reality-building process. But these are not flaws. They are the inevitable trade-offs for a system designed to work quickly, efficiently, and with limited resources. In our modern world, we rely heavily on technology to extend the boundaries of our senses. From microscopes that reveal the hidden world of cells to telescopes that show us distant galaxies, these tools allow us to peek beyond the limitations of our sensory organs. And yet, even with these extensions, we are still constrained by the way our brain interprets the data. The brain builds reality not from the truth of the external world, but from what it expects to find. This discovery, this profound realization, leads to a startling conclusion. The reality we experience is not fixed. It is not absolute. It is fluid, shaped by the mind that perceives it. Different cultures, different individuals, and even the same person in different moods may experience reality in profoundly different ways. The brain doesn't just detect reality, it creates it. In the quiet moments of dawn, as the world awakens, our minds engage in their daily task, building the world we inhabit. Reality, as we perceive it, is not just a passive experience. It is an intricate dance between the brain's expectations, memories, and its most profound creation, our sense of self. At the heart of our experience of reality lies one of the greatest mysteries of all, the nature of consciousness. Your conscious awareness, that intimate experience of being, is at once familiar and elusive. Scientists have long pondered the question: how does the brain, a collection of neurons and chemicals, create the rich tapestry of subjective experience? While we have made great strides in understanding how the brain processes sensory input, the nature of consciousness remains a puzzle. What we do know is that consciousness is not a single thing, but a symphony of interactions, different regions of the brain working in concert to create the unified experience of reality. Your sense of self is constantly shifting, evolving with each passing moment. It is a story your brain tells itself, a story that draws from memories of the past and projects into the future. But neuroscientists have discovered something remarkable. The self is not a fixed entity. It is in fact a construct, a constantly updated model, shaped by our interactions with the world and with others. This network of brain regions, known as the default mode network, is highly active when we reflect on ourselves, when we daydream, plan, or ruminate on the past. It is here that the brain constructs the self, weaving together a narrative from fragments of memory and imagination. But this narrative is far from stable. It changes depending on context, mood, and even who we are with. If reality is a construct of the brain, then what happens when the brain itself is altered? Through meditation, dreaming, or even the use of certain substances, the boundaries of our constructed reality can shift, revealing the malleable nature of consciousness. Scientists have studied altered states of consciousness, those moments when reality seems to bend and reshape. In these states, the brain's usual patterns of activity change, allowing us to glimpse new dimensions of perception. Consider dreams. Every night as you sleep, your brain continues its work, creating elaborate worlds filled with strange yet familiar imagery. In dreams, the brain uses the same neural mechanisms it uses during waking life, but without the constraints of sensory input or logical coherence. It is as if your brain, freed from the need to interpret the outside world, turns inward to create a reality all its own. While each of us constructs our own subjective reality, we are also social beings, bound together by shared narratives and cultural frameworks. These shared realities shape our perceptions, beliefs, and behaviors. From childhood, we are immersed in cultural constructs, language, norms, and traditions that shape the way we see the world. These shared realities form the foundation of society, allowing us to communicate, collaborate, and coexist. But these shared realities are not always universal. What one culture sees as reality, another might view as illusion. Our perceptions are shaped not only by our biology, but by the stories we inherit from the society around us. Reality, then, is not as solid as we might believe. It is fragile, flexible, and subject to change. Our brains work tirelessly to keep the illusion intact, but even the slightest disruption can reveal the cracks in its foundation. In cases of neurological disorders or brain injury, the mind's delicate construction of reality can break down, leading to hallucinations, delusions, or an altered sense of self. These disruptions remind us of the tenuous grip we have on what we call reality, and so we find ourselves adrift in a sea of perception, our minds constantly weaving the fabric of reality. But for all we know, for all we experience, the ultimate nature of reality remains beyond our grasp. Through science, we have uncovered glimpses of the truth, but the deeper we explore, the more we realize how much we do not know. If reality is created by the brain, then what lies beyond the mind's reach? What is the universe like when freed from the constraints of perception? As we continue our journey, we will delve deeper into the mysteries of consciousness, perception, and the very nature of existence itself. For reality, as we perceive it, is just one version of a much larger, more mysterious truth.